Welcome back. In this video, we will be talking about functions in PowerShell. So functions in PowerShell have the same purpose as functions in any other programming languages. They allow you to execute a piece of code without having to write the entire code all the time. So let's take a look at this code. So here we are creating a PowerShell remote session. We are copying an item to that session, and then we have to remove the session because we are opening a session to a new computer. So we keep repeating that same code over and over again. And here it's not a big deal because it is 3 lines. And of course, if you wanted to make it even more efficient, you would probably put that into a for loop of some kind, probably for each, because it's rare that computer 1, 2, 3 will happen. But let's assume that this is much longer and it can't really be run in a loop. So how would you do that? Well, what we would do here is we would create a function, and we'll write it all together. Oops. And let's say send, let's name it send to remote computer. Okay. So here you can see you have a param block created for you in the template. So what this param block allows you to do is to feed it, just like here, parameters in as arguments. So here the params we would need are string. Actually, you don't necessarily need string. I'll explain later string. So file, destination folder, and computer name, right? So, and we need to separate those by a comma. So here now we are passing those arguments to those parameters to the function. So we could call it, and of course now it's not doing anything, but the way we would call it, and let's just make it clean, uppercase, and let's say it would be send to, and see now it, the IDE, so VS Code in this case, recognizes it as a function and it will know what to do. So there you go, file, and we'll say my file. It doesn't really matter. Let's say C my file 1.txt. Sorry. Destination folder, which is C temp, and destination. Oh, I don't know what happened. And computer name, which is computer 1. All right, so this is how we take 3 lines, and now we will be able to call them into one. Of course, we need to put that code in there, but for now, let's actually return, so our script doesn't actually run those because obviously this will all fail. Now let's do a little write host, and we'll print our file. Let's add a tab, and we'll print our destination folder and tab, and we'll add our computer name. So let's run this, and you'll see, there we go. So now this script block, so this is basically a script block with parameters, will have those values. But of course, if we remove, actually I'm going to comment it out, then you won't have it. So something to keep in mind. And I can also, actually let me do this. And because we don't have um, the string that I started typing earlier, I can say 10. I can tell it my computer name is 10, which is not really something you want. So that's where we have that typecasting here, where you say, I want this to be a string. I want this. Of course, all of these will be strings in this case because um, it makes no sense to have anything else. But we could have Boolean, though you probably wouldn't want Boolean. In the case of uh, a Boolean, there's this thing called switch, which is either, let's say, test present or not. You don't actually, if you have a switch, you don't need a value, and we'll look into this right now. Else, not a test, and let's run this, and we'll probably, so see here that 10 here is actually now a string. So because we did the typecasting, so let's do computer name, get member, and let's see what happens. See, no, this is system.string. So this forces this, if it can convert it, it forces that number to convert into a string. Now there are things that can't be converted into strings, such as certain objects, but this forces it to be a string. So yeah, so let's take a look at this test. Now let's remove the test. And oops, yeah, is it not a test here? Let's remove that get member so it's clearer. Let's clear this and run that. See, not a test. So now let's go to our function that we actually wanted to write. So we'll remove this. We don't need the test. We'll take a deeper look into the parameter block in the next lecture. But here what we want is this. And of course, even when we're done completing this, this will not work because there's no remote computer to play with. So here, now our computer name is going to be obviously computer name. And actually, even though I didn't do it, I like to put those uppercase, right? To show that they're coming from here, even though it doesn't matter. So we are taking the session. The path is going to be file, and here this is destination folder. So here now we have computer 1, right? And we can replace our code. How many computers? 4, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4. Now, of course, in this case, a for loop would have made neater. But imagine this code being much bigger. We can also do some, as we saw in the previous lectures, we can do some try-catch here. Actually, let's just do this because we know it's not going to work. We'll do error action, and we'll say stop. And now we'll catch. right host, there was a problem with computer name, right? So now we can actually run this, and this will work. And imagine if you did a lot more handling of everything, you will get much bigger code and your function will have a lot more use. So let's run this and see. There you go. Boom. Try catch. We had the catch. We can also do, as we saw previously, select object property star. Let's take a look. The property we're looking is this one. Right. So we can catch this exception. There was a problem connecting to. Let's clear this. And there we go. So we catch the error, we do all this, and that makes it a lot cleaner, especially if you have to run this multiple times. So you know you're going to do send to remote computer. If you care about the code, you can look into the function. So one thing to keep in mind is that if I put my function at the bottom, it will not work, except in PowerShell 7. So if you have PowerShell 7, function at the bottom will work. But now if we go into PowerShell 5 and we run this, it will tell me the term is not recognized. Because the way PowerShell 5 works, it reads the code from top to bottom. So it finds the functions, keep them in memory, and then goes down and runs the code as it finds it. PowerShell 7 is a little bit smarter. It will go and read the whole code and then run. But as a good rule of thumb, keep that function at the top so that it's compatible with more versions of PowerShell. So in the next video, we'll be looking a bit deeper into that parent block and what you can do. See you in the next video.